I have to hit the gavel. I want to call this meeting to order. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I forgot we weren't having character reading. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please stand. And Mr. Oliver's going to direct us.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then, Mr. Draper, will you lead everybody, or give us the mission statement?
Yes. Beaufort County Schools will provide quality educational programs and services to enhance student academic and vocational success.
Thank you. And I'm told we don't have any public comments, so we're just going to keep right on going. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Next, we've got approval of the minutes, and there's a lot of them, so if some of you weren't here, go ahead and let Lisa know. You weren't here, but you were here by phone.
By phone, but I'm not sure which.
I told you
Can't
were
remember.
here.
That was a long time ago.
You were here by phone for both the first two. Anybody else? I think everybody else was here throughout November and December. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Keep right on going. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. T.W. Allen, who's taking care of our public recognition tonight. Mr. Doan?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Excuse me, sir. All right, first thing we want to do tonight is recognize our the Beaufort County Schools Christmas card art winner. Artwork was submitted by Miss Nicole Yantz. I think Miss Yantz is here. If she will come up forward. We have a certificate for her along with a set of Christmas cards for her to use and her original artwork to be returned. And we're going to have a picture on the big screen as well, but for those of you that have really good eyesight, there's a small version. All right, or you should have gotten one in the mail. Thank you very much. And if you would, let me say one other thing before I get you to greet the board. Ms. Yantz, her art teacher is Mr. Damon Walcott. Mr. Walcott is here as well. This is pure coincidence, and we will have Mr. Walcott back at a future meeting, but just literally within the last hour, Mr. Walcott was notified that he is the Region 1 Teacher of the Year for the Northeast Region. So he went from being the Washington High School Teacher of the Year to Beaufort County Schools Teacher of the Year to being one of 8 finalists for Teacher of the Year of the state. So we're very proud of Mr. Walcott. And Ms. Yantz said he owes it all to her. But we will like to have him back at a later date. But that just kind of sprung that on us. But we want to thank Ms. Yantz for her Christmas card. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. We'll get a picture, okay?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's a beautiful card. Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's cool.
Right up here.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
The second group of folks that I want to recognize tonight, we have, for those that aren't familiar with National Board Certification, It is a way to recognize the accomplished teaching that's occurring in our classrooms. This is a process based on high and rigorous standards that evaluate teaching practice through performance-based assessments. This process is designed to collect standards-based evidence of accomplished teaching across 4 different components: content knowledge, differentiation and instruction, teaching practice, and classroom environment, and effective and reflective practitioner. And we're very fortunate to have 1 newly certified National Board teacher with us and 3 folks who are able to renew their certification. And so I want to call those folks up at this time and give them a certificate as well. All right. Actually, all right, first person, our newly certified National Board teacher is Ms. Ashley Autry from Washington High School. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And our outstanding educators who renewed their certification are Ms. Tony Taylor from Bath Elementary School, Ms. Tracy Solano from John Cotton Taylor. I'm not sure if Ms. Solano is able to join us, and Ms. Heather Hall from Chocowinity Primary School. All right, if you ladies will greet the board, and then we'll get a picture. All right. Ashley, if you'll come back up.
Congratulations to me.
What's your guys'
Tony, stand behind you. That'll make us look better. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
And our last recognition of the evening, each year the North Carolina Council of Teachers of Mathematics recognizes 1 teacher from each LEA across the state that represents superior instruction in mathematics. The teacher selected from each LEA receives a 1-year membership in the North Carolina Council of Teachers of Mathematics, recognition at the State Mathematics Conference, and a special memento of the occasion. And this year, the selection for Beaufort County Schools was Mr. Cougar Caroon from the Beaufort County Early College. Congratulations, sir. If you'll greet the board.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. And that does it for the recognition part of our meeting. So those of you that would like to scoot on out, you're welcome to stay, but I know it's a busy time of year, so we're going to let you scoot on out if you'd like. Merry Christmas to all of you.
Thank you so much. Stand here and
Love on that puppy. Oh, clear the room. Now could I have a motion for closed session, please?
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A1 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files under General Statute 115C321 and to consult with our attorney to consider and give instructions concerning the potential or actual plain administrative procedural or judicial action. The title of the action is 18 CBS 157, NERSBA versus Beaufort County Schools.
Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried, and we are in closed session. We're going to jump ahead and let Stan go first.
Let's approve our personnel.
Oh, yeah, I need a motion to approve our personnel agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, Stan?
Good afternoon.
Hey.
Give you a brief update of what we've got going on at the present time with our 18-19 budget. Over the holiday break, Ed Tech Media Center roof replacement is scheduled to start on the 26th with Curtis Construction of Kinston, and they opted out to be completed by the 31st. They actually planned to be finished by that Friday, but they put a 31st date as a cleanup day, weather permitting. Southside High School main drive repaving is still in the same process it was last time. They've been unable to get out due to all of our rains and the water on that property, but they're hoping they'll have a dry spell over the holiday break when nobody's on campus. Southside High School chiller replacement. The new chillers are in Chocowinity at OBI, stored there. Piedmont Service Group will be starting this Friday on the dismantling of the existing chillers, and they will be setting the new chillers on Wednesday, the 26th. And we'll have them up and going and started by the 31st. We have our automation contractor scheduled to do our online stuff and get us set up online back where we can manage the system. And Pete Lee and I will be supervising that installation over the holiday break. SW Snowden HVAC replacement, the 300 building, this has been completed by Robertson Heating and Air for $8,325. This was an add-on to our 2018-19 capital project due to our failure. Just an update on plant operations, flood recovery. Mr. Rob Malone, our attorney, approved our RFP and provided us with the construction contracts. Both items have been posted on the Beaufort County School website and on the hub per FEMA requirements, and our bids will be due back on January 7th of 2019. And we've had 3 of our local contractors already contact us, and one of them have been on site to physically look at the facility. Any questions?
How are we on the insurance on that?
We have not gotten the quotes yet. FEMA did the walkthrough for the estimations on the calculations of the square footage. Those documents have been sent to their representative to do the calculations. So when we do get the insurance settlement, we can compare the two to make sure that they do match, as well as compare them to the bid. FEMA says unless we're satisfied, don't sign their document, and we can hopefully negotiate very well.
Okay.
Have we given any consideration to possibly relocating plant ops to a different place? I mean, I know we're paying a fortune in flood insurance, and then to pay that in flood insurance and then still have it, I mean, I know flood insurance pays for getting flooded, but to have to do this, I mean, this is going to happen again. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
Could we get into some kind of discussion with FEMA of maybe relocating and using those funds to relocate? Is that a possibility?
I can ask. The only thing that bothers me to a degree is that we spent $131,000 for service spread to go in and get the building.
And get rid of the hazardous waste.
And that would have been something probably we should have talked about before we discussed our settlement with the flood insurance company.
Probably so.
Yes.
So
But-
we're already 130.
Right. But on residential flooding, there are people that over the last probably 10 to 15 years have had repetitive loss, totaling probably anywhere from 30 to 70,000, where their homes have had to be redone and redone and redone, not to the point that they were totaled, so FEMA just kept doing them, but after the repetitive loss, usually FEMA steps in and goes, like Butch said, we need to do something different here. We're not going to keep doing this.
I would say that that would have been before anything was done after, like we would have spent, $250,000 finishing this building. If we have a second flooding, that would be where we should have that conversation, not after we've already spent the done.
Well, I
But I will
think,
double check with
yeah,
you.
and I think the record should reflect that we are interested in that conversation
Yeah.
if there's another flood. Before any agreements are made to start rehabbing a building, I think that needs to be seriously investigated. Because Butch is right, we could just keep redoing this, and I don't know of anybody that pays 100% of the damage. Are we
So-
going to get 100%
We're
reimbursement?
what, 131 in,
131,
plus
this
put
is-
back.
According to the flood insurance folks, their service pro contract, we were told that they would pay to go ahead and have it gutted and cleaned before we mold and preventative measures on the project. So that's where we can move forward. Right now, we still don't know the exact insurance payout for the complete renovation.
Right, what's the
Around
cost of the total
125
rehab?
or better for reconstruction side of that.
So we're looking at spending $250,000 on a building. Is it even worth $250,000?
On the tax book, it's worth a whole lot more than that.
Is it?
Which they don't consider it being in the flood zone. They don't look at that side of it. They look at its taxable property, so.
And
We
we're
don't have any
paying,
extra money to put into it.
And the way we're reconstructing, we're putting it back as residential with sheet rock this time, so that if we do have flooding again, we can come in and cut 4 inches off instead of having to tear and gut the whole building. But that's roughly what we had in the building, between 3 and 4 inches. There was a 5-inch line outside. Of course, it wicked up, but it got between the plywood of the city's, when it was the city school, and the paneling when it was made by the county offices, and the mold just took off between those paneling and plywood. So, because it was stage 3 stormwater, sewer, river water came in on us, so. Any other?
You got the requesting.
Yes, ma'am.
approval.
We've had a unit fail at Chakawindy Primary School in room 302. The compressors failed in this unit, and according to Brian Alligood, our HVAC tech, it's been about 10 years ago, it did the same. The unit's 28 years old. We received 2 quotes that we have attached to your document. And it's my recommendation, if y'all approve funding, spend the funding, to move forward, advance our solution of Washington in the amount of $4,041.09, and this is including installation and taxes.
was this on our,
No, this is a new capital item, and we would be coming from our capital fund balance, which is roughly about $20,000 right now.
Willie Mack knew I was going to ask that before.
The savings from the walk behind scrubber, the savings for contingencies or overruns is $26,041.
Okay, so we have that, not that we want to spend it, but we need to spend it.
So if we have another HVAC unit.
We'll be coming back for another one as well after Christmas at Snowden.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Need a
I'm going to need a motion then to approve the request of approval of the $4,000, I don't remember what it was.
$41.
$4,041 for Chakawindy Primary HVAC system.
So moved.
Second. All those approve? Anybody disapprove? Motion carried.
I was thinking that if anything under 5, he didn't have to come to us. Is that not right?
When it's new like that.
When it's new like that, is that? Okay.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Stan.
Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
You too. All right, now we're to the academic presentation part.
Mr. Smith from Easter Elementary is going to start us off tonight.
Cut out my interpretive dance for the evening. So you're welcome.
You just remember what we agreed upon out back.
Right, yeah, okay. Well, good evening, thank you for having me here, and I am going to keep this rather short, but just want to go over a few pieces of data that are shaping the conversations and some of the things we're doing at Eastern this year. So starting here with this first slide, what you're seeing right now is our growth measures of EVOS for 16-17 school year and 17-18 school year. This is some good news. If you look, the vast majority of our teachers in their classroom either met or exceeded growth in the 16-17 school year, and 7.7 did not meet expected growth, and that was 2 teachers. That's what those numbers represent. Then even better in 17-18, we still had 2 teachers not meeting expected growth. One of those teachers is the same teacher as the year before. Another one went up, and another one dropped down. But the real good news there is, if you look, we went from 26% of our teachers exceeding growth to 39, and that's, I believe, from 7 teachers to 11 teachers. And just in layman's terms, just as a reminder, when their students are making expected growth, that means they are growing 1 year worth of academic gain. And if they're exceeding growth, that's exceeding a year's academic gain. And then not meeting growth means that they're not meeting the expected growth. So that's good news in some ways, and it's an important part of our conversation when we get into what do we need to do better. Moving on, this is our, in layman's term, phonics composite. We measure with M-class and Dibbles, and the Dibbles piece is more your sound fluency, your decoding, things that, the nuts and bolts, the mechanics of reading. And if you look, the district for K1 was 73%, and Eastern Elementary School is 65%. So good, not great, but when you consider that our students make up over half of those students in that district number, I feel pretty good about that. So what that tells us is that our phonics instruction is doing well, relatively well, but we can do better. Now, where the hard conversation comes in, moving on to the next one, is our reading comprehension. So when we do an M-class assessment, there's the Dibbles piece, which again is the phonics, and then there's the TRC, which is reading comprehension. And when we compare that to the district average, we are definitely not where we want to be. I've worked in low-performing schools before, and we were happy with 65% if we were making that sometimes. But looking at this reading comprehension piece, 46% is definitely not where we want to be. So moving on to the next slide. Well, actually, one more piece about the growth piece. I'm not going to move back slides, but I skipped a note here. When we're talking about making a year's growth, the catch is that when you start behind, a year's growth is not enough. And that's leading a lot of the conversation that we're having as far as academics go at Eastern Elementary School. And we're saying, obviously, the vast majority of our teachers here are growing their students. They're growing them at least a year, some of them more than a year. So we look at those numbers and then say, but at the same time, here we are with only 46% of our students are where they need to be with reading comprehension. So, the conversation that we then have as a staff, as a faculty, is we're obviously doing good things, but we need to do even better. And that's going to kind of take us to what we're doing with this data. So looking at this, this year we have a school-wide focus on data-driven instruction and increased teacher support through the following things. Now, I will go ahead and say, every time I hear anyone say data-driven instruction, I roll my eyes because that's what everybody says. So the points I'm going to go through are the specific ways that we are trying to use data in our school. And this is a bit of a new paradigm at Eastern, is my feeling. I think that it's just been kind of up and down, and we're really trying to put some things in that will work school-wide. And y'all know that's tough at Eastern because we have 15 of each grade level, K1. Yeah. So getting everyone on the same page and doing the same thing is very difficult. In a traditional school, you have 4 kindergarten teachers or 5 kindergarten teachers. They can all get in the same room and plan at the same time. During our day, that's not possible. So we are doing things to try and to pick up where we have some organizational hurdles. So the first one that we did is we reconceptualized our Title I position. So our Title I teacher right now has 3 days for small group intervention, so she's pulling students 3 days a week and doing small group one-on-one, or not, small group 2 one-on-one instruction, as few as 1 student, as many as 4, and that's where we cap that out. But then on the other 2 days, which are Wednesday and Friday, on Wednesday we're doing weekly data meetings, and teachers are examining data to inform classroom practices. What that really looks like, and this has been the heavy lift, I'll tell you at Eastern, is putting this in place and sticking to it. We know that teacher time is very valuable. It's fleeting. They have a lot to do. So doing it, sticking with it so that people see the value and start to see the value has been tough, but my opinion is that we're starting to see some cracks of light coming through there, because the first several times the value of it necessarily isn't self-evident the first time you sit in a data meeting. It can be very overwhelming. So I just wanted to talk to you about one example of what, when I say we're data-driven and we're having data meetings, what that looks like at Eastern Elementary School, because I don't want to just throw buzzwords at you and say, we're doing a great job, data, data, data. Okay. Last week, what we did was each pod would come in and they would bring some of their student assessments. And we looked at what's called MSV, meaning, syntax, and visual. And so what we're doing is we're looking, when the teachers are progress monitoring, looking at where the students are making mistakes, we see that they have a mistake. They missed that word. Well, that's great. They missed the word. But why did they miss the word? And so what we're doing with those students is we are digging in. Is it that they didn't understand the meaning of the word? Was it the syntax of the word, how it worked in the sentence? Or was there a visual piece where, they looked at a boat and the word was ship and they said the word boat? Okay. These are examples of how we're trying to use the data and go into the data at the student level to inform our instruction. That we're saying, okay, teachers, here's what we're going to do as a school. These are practices we're going to use. We know that the student missed the word, but for you to remediate and to get that student where he or she needs to go, what we need to do is know why are they making that mistake so that we can properly help them move forward. The analogy I have is, it'd be like going to the doctor. Well, I'm sick. Well, that's all good and well, but for a doctor to help you, they have to know what your symptoms are, ask you questions, find out what it is that's making you sick so that they can have a corrective course of action. That's what we're doing in these data meetings. This is an evolution of culture at Eastern Elementary School, but that's, when I say data-driven, that's what I'm talking about. These are the things that we're trying to do. Not just say, where are your students? Let's put them let's put them in small groups and remediate them. Those are big ideas that everybody in education throws around. These are specific things that we're trying to do at Eastern to pinpoint and really get surgical on where student needs are so that we can help them move forward at a faster rate. So that's what our data meetings look like. The next thing that our Title I teacher is doing, and this is another big thing, and you ask anyone, especially in the lower grades, where is the real learning going to take place with reading instruction? It's in your guided reading groups. And Eastern has been saying that they do guided reading, and we do guided reading, but it looks very different from room to room and class to class. And although we do like teachers to have autonomy, there have not been enough common practices going on so that we know exactly what it's supposed to look like. And it's not that the teachers are lazy, it's not that the teachers are trying, they just don't know, lots of them. So we're doing a number of things to help them with their guided reading. Because when I talk about we're getting surgical with the data, that's going to inform what that small group guided reading instruction is going to look like. So one feeds into the other. And so our Title I teacher, Miss Lily, she, every Friday, she's going in and helping teachers with their guided reading. She's observing their guided reading and then saying, listen, I saw this going on. This was really good. Do that some more. I saw this. You might want to tweak this. And the reason she was chosen for the job was she's very knowledgeable and effective in the classroom when she was a teacher. So she is quite an authority and a really good resource for these teachers. Also, she was part of the staff. So the teachers, I hope, know that it's not a gotcha. She's not going in there to go tell Mr. Smith that they're not doing it right. We don't have those conversations. We don't. What she comes and tells me is, this is what we were working on. Not they're doing this, they're not doing that. To support that guided reading, so we have the coach. We've already done a redip of guided reading professional development for our K-1 teachers where Nancy Phipps has come in. She did it with our kindergarten the other day, and she's coming back on January 10th for our first grade teachers. We've allocated some funds for school-wide learning walks. So every K-1 teacher is going to get a sub for a day. And they're going to spend that day going around the school and seeing how other people in the building do it. Because they know how that's working in their pod, but they don't know how it's working elsewhere. So, and we have a protocol that we're going to use so that they're asking intentional questions, that there are specific things that they're looking for. And so they're going to be able to learn for themselves, but the other thing they're going to be able to do is give feedback to the teachers on what they see. Another thing new this year is required weekly, and actually it's bi-weekly, I apologize for that, required bi-weekly intervention plans for all Tier 2 students. So when they notice a student is having trouble, or that a student is not responding just to the general instruction, we're looking at ways that we can intervene to help them. And again, we're trying to get away from just throw stuff at the wall and say, well, I'm working with them one-on-one. They're going with a teacher and doing this. We're saying, okay, what is it that you're doing? What are you trying to accomplish? And so those intervention sheets that they turn in, they have the baseline of where the student is, what the student's goal is going to be, and what intervention they're going to use. And so what those intervention sheets, and they turn them in my office every 2 weeks, is it will look and say, okay, little Seth, not doing too well, so we want him to improve his sight word recognition. This is his baseline. We've done this for a week. After 2 weeks, we're measuring to see if what we're doing is working or not. We're not waiting till the end of the year to say, oh, we hope it all shakes out in the end. Because if it's not working, then we can be quick and agile and change what we're doing. But if it is working, then we know, hey, rock on, folks. Let's keep doing this. Another thing we're doing, specials teachers, so our art, music, PE, they have, because of our scheduling, they have some open times. And what they're doing is they are going in and working with students in small groups in the classroom when they're not teaching their own subjects this year. We adopted a Reading Horizons Phonics program this year. That was a heavy lift last year, but it's one where we had originally chosen it for kindergarten, and then we had a couple of first grade teachers that were teaching in a summer school, and they liked it so much that the word kind of got out, and I did not require first grade to do it, and they adopted it on their own. So we're feeling really good about that, getting a lot of feedback. And that goes back to, we had the 64% for the phonics piece, but again, good, but we want to do better. And what we had been doing got us to good, and so we wanted to move something to get us to better. So that's what.
Reading Horizons, isn't that the same one that Keith is doing at Taylor?
Yes.
I thought he told us about that, okay.
And I believe they're doing it at Northeast. I believe.
They are.
Okay. They are. So we're really feeling good about that. And then cross-grade teaming buddy classes. So now we have kindergarten and first grade classes that are meeting on a regular basis and working together. And we think that that's important, A, for our kindergartners to see what first grade is like, but also for our first grade teachers especially to see what's going on in the kindergarten classroom so that we can increase that conversation across grade levels. So that's something that we're doing. So from the academic piece, that's in a nutshell. I just wanted to talk real quick about PBIS, and this really will be quick. Feeling very good about PBIS this year. We've kind of reconstituted our team. We have a new teacher to our school, but not to Beaufort County, that's heading that up, and he is kind of a guru with that, and we're really feeling good about it. And here's some of the new things, some of the things that we're doing, some new, some old. Weekly caught being good recognition, so students, when we see a student doing something that they ought to, they get a certificate or a little piece of paper about this size, caught being good, and we do a weekly drawing, so that, we don't want to call out bad behavior in public, but rather see students working for something positive. We also have monthly celebrations for good behavior. That's our Terrific Kids program that we do, as well as for students that have been good for an entire month. So that could be a movie, that could be a popsicle party. It could be, these are kindergartners and first graders, so it doesn't have to be too big, but that's something else we're doing. School-wide implementation of whole class recognitions with our Beaver Care Hearts. And what that is if anyone sees a whole class following our Beaver's Care expectations, which are calm bodies, appropriate voices, respectful actions, and everyone ready to learn, then that whole class can be rewarded. But it has to be everybody, not little Johnny in the back screwing around and everybody else is good. Everybody has to do it. And I will share with you some of our high flyers, our toughest guys, are the ones that are really working hard because they want to see that happen. Another thing, and this is a culture piece at Eastern, and we're doing this through PBIS, is monthly recognitions of teachers and staff. So every month we have a staff member, we have a kindergarten teacher, a first grade teacher, and then kind of a catch-all pre-K, EC, our other teachers, as well as TAs that are nominated and being recognized. So, and that's something that we have not done in the past, and we have had a lot of a lot of good feedback for that. And then the last thing is with our behavior piece is our staff mentors for our high flyers. It's a check-in and check-out system. And the reason that we're doing this is currently 10 students make up over half of all of our discipline referrals. So, you know, discipline at Eastern wholesale is not a problem. I should know, because I'm the one that gets called down there when it is. But I can also tell you that there's 10 students that take up the majority of my time when it comes to discipline, and so these are some things that we're trying to implement for those
You mean the
students.
same 10 students?
Yeah, the same 10 students, yeah. You know, most kids, if they ever come to the office, it's once. But, you know, just like everything in life, there's a small group of people that kind of keep you busy all the time. And so that's what's going on with us. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. I hope that was informative. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? I know you're going to always, and Ms. Makepeace was there for a short time, the physical layout of Eastern is always going to be a challenge for collaboration.
It is.
And, but I'm glad to hear that you're trying to overcome that in any way you can.
Excuse me.
It always has been, long before either one of you were ever there. It's just all, the physical layout is really a challenge.
Well, I will say that I think that our weekly meetings, our data meetings that we're having are going a long way for that, because we have the same agenda for every group. So they're coming in and having the same conversation. And when we're having that same conversation, I'm able to say to Pod 1, hey, you know what, when we were meeting with Pod 3, they mentioned this, that, the other. So there is some sharing that's going on that maybe wouldn't be necessarily available otherwise. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all your support.
Have a Merry
And
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, I'm going to be fast, hopefully, because I'm going to have a conversation with you guys like I have with my staff, and we're just going to be very honest. All right. I just want to share some of our school profile, because this has changed a lot since I first got there just 3 years ago. We are up to 79 ESL kids. We started with 15. So we've got 79 ESL kids, 100 AIG, and 62 EC kids that make up 505 of our student body. So I did just want to share some of that. Some of our demographics have changed, have shifted as well. So you can take a look at that. You have those in front of you. Our testing data, I went ahead and put 2015, 16, 16, 17, and 17, 18. 15, 16, I was not there, and when I came the summer of 2016, I lost 12 teachers. I had to replace 12 teachers. And so we are just kind of getting the right people in place. And so I really believe that that was the big dip in scores. If you look at 15, 16 to 16, 17, replacing 12, a lot of them came from Eastern, teaching kindergarten and first grade. They never taught fourth or fifth grade before, but they've got their groove. This is not data that we are proud of, but I want to point it out because we've got so much positive momentum going on right now with what we've got in the school and in the classes. We went from not meeting last year or 2 years ago to meeting growth this year. Our biggest struggle is going to be math, and I'll talk about that in a second. With language arts, that's how our proficiency looks, and you can take a look. The graphs make it look a lot worse, but with implementing Wit and Wisdom last year, we dipped in fourth grade 1.1%, and in fifth grade we dipped 1.8%, which I felt like for a new implementation year, that was not bad at all. Especially, we only covered 3 of the 4 modules. We got off to such a slow start. Everybody was just feeling it out, and they weren't really sure really how to implement the program, so they were reading it page by page. Now we've got a lot of things in place where we're visiting other classrooms and making it our own. So again, we've got a lot of momentum with Wit and Wisdom. Our teachers love it. The kids love it. The 5th grade teacher actually said that she's never seen the kids come so prepared to respond to questions, and their writing is beautiful. So that is very exciting. A big focus for us, though, has been math. 2 years ago, we started Engage New York, and in 4th grade, you can see we went from 59.7% to 44%, and that was like
tore my heart out. I really think that a lot of that had to do with my teachers wanted to do the right thing, and I wanted to do the right thing as a new principal and implement what we were told to implement, but we just didn't have the support. We went and visited other schools that did it, that were implementing Engage New York, but there's just not a lot of PD, and you can't just throw something on somebody and not have support and professional development throughout the year. So that has been tough. That has been a major, major focus with us. And then science, we've had a major dip in science. And I think, again, we've only had, with those 12 teachers, half of that, well, most of them were science teachers. So we're building momentum with that. We've also moved some, we used to do right flight in the spring when we taught science. We don't do that anymore. We do it in the fall. So it doesn't, that's 2 whole weeks of curriculum, 2 whole weeks of instructional days that we now teach during social studies, not during the science. So that's 2 more weeks we can put on to teaching science. I will say we are looking into STEM scopes because we have the Beaufort County Pacing Guide, but there's just not a lot of resources for science, and so we are looking outside of our county for things that work in other schools. 2016-17, we only met growth in 4th grade reading, but last year, the only thing we did not meet growth in was 4th grade math. So we are growing, we're getting there, but 2 years of 2 new curriculums has been tough on us. It's been a big learning curve. Looking at our subgroups, the 2 that we did not meet in were our AIG kids and our Black subgroup. I think, and we've talked a lot about this, of how we're going to meet these needs. I think the AIG subgroup has been, because we've had 2 new curriculums, they're used to doing a lot of things independently. And because the teachers were unfamiliar with a lot of the curriculum, they didn't give them the reins to just go like they're used to. So I think that they have been held back the past couple years. It looks completely different in the classrooms this year, now that the teachers are familiar with the curriculum. And then the Black subgroup, we have the data to show that small groups work, so we are working that into every single classroom. So that is something that we do a lot of learning walks, teachers visiting other classrooms. So some changes that we have made, we have abandoned, for the most part, Engage New York, and we are now following DPI's instructional framework for mathematics. This has been a very powerful thing for us. The kids are given tasks and lessons, and it's actually coming straight from DPI. We hired a math coach, Leslie Holly, who worked very hard on this framework, and that has been the biggest change for us, because what she does is she brings what is coming straight from DPI and brings it straight to us. And so we know of all the changes, and she works with the math team every single Tuesday and Wednesday, getting to the students to understand, or not the students, the teachers to understand the standards. Because like I said, I have wonderful teachers, but I just don't think they understood how to teach Engage. Now I see teachers who, they are finally themselves again. I'm like, you look like yourself again. And the students, you'll see it in a second, you'll see the data proves it. Leslie also brings in different monthly professional developments. The first one we had was with an ECU professor who was one of the writers and co-principals for the framework. So she gave us the background of the framework and why different standards are where they are. She also did read aloud. Some other changes we made are teacher walks. Within the Wit and Wisdom, teachers are making it their own. They're learning Google Classroom, Google Expeditions, so it's not like they were before, kind of reading from a book. We're also supplementing vocabulary into our daily ELA lessons, which has been huge. That has helped so much because Wit and Wisdom does not cover everything.
Excuse me.
An emphasis on small group instruction, which, again, I have the data. I had 3 teachers that exceeded growth, and they all did small group instruction last year, and it was beautiful. So we are using those teachers as mentors. We've also added a coding class to our weekly schedule, and the kids are loving that. Kids that aren't necessarily successful in the classroom are learning these coding skills, and it's rubbing off into their other classes because they have learned how to be successful in the classroom. So they're actually role models to their peers, like, oh, you figured out how to do that? And it's just a really neat thing. So that has just started, but that's been wonderful. Here's just an example of we are seeing some immediate results. These are the results from our NC check-in that we took in, is it October? Is it October? And I just wanted to share that we went from being bottom of the totem pole in fourth grade math to now we are leading all the schools in that first check-in. We've raised our scores from first check-in 14% and 7% in fifth grade. So that is something that gave my teachers the momentum to see what you're doing is working. They all put in the work every single day. We just needed some support at the school level, and so they're getting that now. So we are excited. And the ELA results look just like this. We're excited for where we're going. So we've made some changes, and they've been very positive and the kids have responded well, and the teachers are very confident in their practice. And that's it. Any questions?
Anyone with any questions? Looks like you're on the right path.
Yes. Like I said, the best part about the John Small staff is nobody is okay with being average. We all want to be so much better. Even with those scores, they saw their scores at the top, and they were like, well, I thought we'd be better. Like, they wanted to be better. So it's just a group of hard-working teachers, who are there for the kids.
Well, thank you. Ms. Peg?
Right, I think I'm the only thing that stands between you guys and dinner, so.
Oh, no, we've got some stuff.
You've got a few things after that?
Yes, that's exactly
Okay,
right.
yes, you're right,
Yes.
and we're all really hungry, so let's, you do it.
It's my pleasure to present the early college high school testing data for the 2017-2018 school year. This is a yearly comparison of the school report card. And if you look in the last column, the 2018 school year, 2017-2018, we increased in almost every indicator. English 2 proficiency, 98%. This actually comes to one student not being proficient on the exam. Math 1 proficiency was 96. This again is one student not being proficient. Our biology proficiency for the 2018 year was 100%, which is fantastic. ACT proficiency, 94. This is about 3 students that did not meet the 17 composite score that they must have that considers them career and college ready. Our ACT work keys, we have students every year that take the work keys assessment, but we do not have enough to have an indicator for that section. But our students do always make the platinum and gold levels. Our 4-year graduation rate, we've had 100% for the past 4 years, and our students have always completed the Math 3. So our overall achievement was 99 out of 100. I'm super excited about what the students did and what the teachers did in their hard work. So that's 80% of the NC report card, and the growth composite comes up to 20%, and we were at 90% for that. So we exceeded growth. This is the 3rd year in a row that the early college has exceeded growth, and our school performance was a 97 overall. So to really look at the growth component, this is the first year that biology growth was not added into the growth portion of the NC report card. And just so you know, as long as the teacher or the students perform higher than a 2, then they've exceeded growth. And so for our Math 1 curriculum, the teacher went from a 1.6 the year before to a 3.92 last school year. And then for English 2, the teachers have looked at all of this data as well, and I tell them that this is exactly the trend that I want to see with every teacher. She continues to do better year after year. She does better than the year before. So she was at 1.9, and then last year she ended at 2.51. So some positive trends. This is the 4th year in a row that we've had the highest report card grade in the Northeast region. We are ranked number 11 in the state when comparing growth and school performance grades. And this is out of 2,400 schools in the state. We are ranked number 11. So I thought that was huge. We're in the top 15% for overall school growth in the state. And even more importantly, this is the 3rd year that we've had 100% staff retention, and the staff works really well together. They have great rapport, and they can work on ways to improve student performance. A few areas that we exceeded growth. We exceeded growth in all of the subject areas except for 2, and we have 16 subjects. And the 2 areas were English 3 and English 4, so that will be a focus area next semester and next year. We exceeded growth with the low and middle performing students, and also with our economically disadvantaged students. Effective strategies. We collect data before EVOS is released. All of this data that we all receive, we do not receive this until November. Well, our students start in August. So we pull from the year before, so our 8th graders that are moving in as 9th graders, we look at their Lexile scores, their reading scores, their quantile scores, and we have an idea of who's at risk before they even come into the classroom, so we can give them that support. And then we can also look at our high achievers and make sure that they are reading text that's above their Lexile level that will encourage them to move up. Earlier interventions are also a key. It's been an effective strategy for the teachers and students. Any student that is performing with a 70 or below in any subject area is put in a monitoring chart, and we contact parents, offer tutoring, give some more online resources, and by the 2nd progress report time, after 6 weeks in the semester, if they haven't shown improvement, then we pull in the parents and have a teacher, parent, and student conference to try to figure out what's going on. Peer tutors are in all math classes. Our school-wide expectations have also helped in parent conferences. A couple of examples of the data cards that we use. I took out the student's name, but we have a digital student data card for every student at the school, and it keeps track of everything that they've done so far and also their career interests. These cards are shared with all teachers, the guidance counselor, and myself, so we meet with the students. We'll know exactly what they want to do. This student wanted to do something in the medical field. We can have conversations about GPA, what they're going to need to move on to the next stage. We've got their Lexile levels, pre-ACT scores, and this student hasn't yet taken the NCDAP, the college placement for reading and math, but those are also some testing scores that we talk about with the students. The cumulative assessments you can see in the 2nd column with biology. Every teacher gives cumulative assessments to identify weak areas with the students. This is an example of the interventions that I was referencing earlier. Once a student scores below a 70, we add them to a shared Google Doc, and we talk about things that we can do to help the student. So our focus area, as I mentioned earlier, 14 out of the 16 subject areas exceeded growth. English 3 and English 4 met growth, but we would like to see all of our subjects exceed. So those are going to be our focus areas next year. Next spring will be English 4 and English 3 next fall. And our literacy focus in all subject areas to improve performance. And that is it.
Any
Do you have any questions?
Well, those are just pitiful results.
Pitiful.
No, congratulations.
Thank you.
What a well-deserved honor.
We expect 10th next year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Top
Thank
tip.
you so much. We'll try.
Being 11th means there is still room for growth.
Yes.
Thank you all
Great job.
for coming in tonight. I appreciate it, and have a Merry Christmas.
Madam Chairman, Ms. Makepeace also had to drive a bus this afternoon. So she,
I came in a little bit flustered. I didn't have to drive a bus. I stopped both ways of traffic on River Road. I text Mark and said, "You get any complaints?" It was me. I was on River Road. I had my flashes on, and everybody was stopped for about 10 minutes.
Well, I live on River Road, and everybody's always very quick to tell me a bus number that acted inappropriately, so I will be prepared
she
then.
did very well under pressure.
I bet she did. Thank you for doing that. All right, moving on, we've got some action items, and going to let Mark go over those with us?
Yes, ma'am. 8.1, approval of school improvement plans. Now that all the schools have presented, I would like to ask the board to approve their school improvement plans for the 1920 school year. Excuse me, 18, I'm ahead, year ahead, 18-19.
Move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried.
All right. 8.2, these are the policies that received from the North Carolina School Board Association. They were on first reading last meeting. There have been no changes. Just looking for approval.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried.
All right. I had brought to you a possible change to policy 5220, collections and solicitations. There's only been one change. It's been highlighted in number 3. It now reads, school-wide fundraising projects shall be limited to 3 per year. In addition to 2 school-wide projects, officially recognized student organizations are permitted to conduct 4 annual fundraising projects. All the rest of the policy is the same. With the board's permission, I would ask that we waive first reading if at your pleasure and go ahead and make the change tonight.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor? All those opposed? There you go. It's okay, we have one opposed.
No, I won't either. No.
Okay. And then policy 8.4, this was the policy, a revision to policy 9300 about naming facilities. You have 2 choices because I think the board liked all of the policy. And the only difference is the very last paragraph, the first version reads, all requests for naming a facility must be put in writing and submitted to the chairman of the board. The letter should contain a summary of significant accomplishments and endeavors of the school system. The chairman may appoint 1 or more committees of board members to recommend or approve naming of such facilities, which could be being brought before the entire board. The other version of this policy, and the reason it's here is because this was the Dare County version, was the superintendent shall submit a recommended name or list of recommended names to the board for approval. And so that was the only difference, that was the major difference between our existing policy, where ours kept the language that would come to the chairman of the board, and then the board would decide, versus the superintendent would bring it to the board, and the board would decide. The rest of it leaves intact the things I believe that you liked in terms of the qualifications for why we would name a facility after someone.
Is there any discussion on this? Does anybody have a preference? One way or another, all the decision, whatever is made, needs to be made by the whole board.
Right.
The first version is a little more in line with your existing policy because it keeps the language about the board. The second one is, it has that last sentence is more about from the school system, where we saw this one and liked this one. So.
Okay, all right. So somebody want to make a motion on one of these? If there's no motion, there's no change.
So have we, one of these is changing what we currently have.
Both of them are changing what you currently have.
Tell me the difference in the 2 of them again.
All right.
The last
Just the
paragraph.
last paragraph.
The first one is more in line with your current policy, where the chairman of the board brings the submission before either a committee or the entire board. The second one says the superintendent would recommend the name, so the superintendent would be the one to bring it before the board. It's
And
just
that's splitting hairs. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me now, it wouldn't matter to me personally whether the chairman brings it or the superintendent. It's still a board vote.
Correct.
We're approving one of these 2, is what you're saying.
Right.
Assuming that you want to allow naming of facilities, your current policy doesn't allow you to name them at all, and we have to waive it every time someone does a request. So this would allow you to stop waiving it and name under certain conditions.
Yeah, I think for future chairman, I think I'll make a motion that the second one be approved, that the
Second.
superintendent comes with the change
I'll second
recommendation.
And we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes for the second one.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that brings us to the calendar for January 19th. I have not, because he is out of town, I believe, have not been able to talk with the new superintendent to see if he had a desire to meet with us prior to the 15th, so we'll just share these dates unless we have a a conflict with somebody now, we'll share these dates, and then if he wants something prior to the 15th, we'll let him make that contact, if that's okay with everybody. I have no idea, what his plans are, but last week, we decided on the 15th and the 29th.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a problem with those dates?
29th is gonna be a bind, but if I have to leave, I'll just have to leave. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And by then, we will have had at least the one meeting with Mr. Cheeseman. So if there needs to be, we have time to make an adjustment if we need to, Matt, just remind me.
No.
Anybody else have a problem with those dates?
I will not be, I'll be out of town on the 29th.
Sounds like the 29th might be an issue then for a couple of us. Well, if it's okay, we'll relook at that with Mr. Cheeseman. Is that all right with everybody? All right. All right, board member updates. Butch, have they had an event for Coach Proctor? I saw there was one event. Has there been any movement toward the naming of the gym?
You want to,
I know it's still, I think they're looking at that.
Okay. I was just wondering if that needed to be announced.
what I was told is it's not gonna happen this year, because,
I think they wanted to wait till the summer because of you may have more updated information than I do.
You can share it later.
I don't know, let me confirm what I was told,
Okay, do
because
that.
I don't wanna tell it wrong,
I understand.
but
Just so we know, so that if
yeah,
it's gonna happen.
it's been approved, and it's gonna happen, but I don't think, it's not gonna be able to happen before
Okay.
basketball season this year. So.
Okay, all right. Any other board member updates? All right.
Just want a reminder that Friday, December 21st is a 3-hour early release day for our students, and we're headed for winter break, and students will not return until January 7th, so they will have 16 days. So we hope that while everybody is celebrating the holidays, that they try every chance they get to get our kids to read while they're home, and I hope everybody gets a book for Christmas, because we need to keep the momentum that we've got going. So we need to, just because we're going to be at home doesn't mean you can't read a little bit. First of all, I would like to say this will be my last board meeting as the interim superintendent. Please don't cheer. I would like to thank the staff and administrative staff, the teachers, our entire set of employees. I could not have been more supportive and they've been great to work with this entire time. I absolutely have to single out Miss Lisa Duke and Miss Cindy Apple, whom I would not have survived without. And I appreciate the board's faith in me, and I appreciate even more the opportunity to return to my regular seat at the next meeting.
Let's say, now, we're not done with you by a long
No,
shot.
I'll be
so
right over there.
We appreciate it so very much, Mark. You've done a remarkable job, not that we had any doubt. And
Thank you.
I appreciate it, and I know Mr. Hodges conveyed that last meeting as well. We really do appreciate what you've done.
Thank you.
We look forward to Mr. Cheeseman starting after the first of the year, and I want to take the time to wish everybody here a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, safe travels if you're traveling, stay away from the viruses that are out there, stay healthy, and anybody else have anything to add?
I think Mr. Dunn at least deserves a round of applause. For
Yes,
this.
he does. And as our appreciation, we're going to treat you to dinner tonight.
Dinner tonight, I appreciate that.
All right.
I bet it has seafood.
Yeah, maybe some oysters. Can I entertain one more motion?
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, keep your thoughts to yourself.